Hi everybody, this video is all about Prince George's Railway and Forestry Museum, and that opened in 1983, so it's now 40 years old this year. Okay everybody, here is a brief history of the Prince George Railway Museum. It all started by 6 residents in 1983 when they restored a 1903 wooden Russell railway snowplow. It is awesome. Don't worry, I'll show it later in the video. Anyway, let's get back to the story. This snowplow had belonged to Northern Pulp and Timber Limited, who had purchased it from PGE. Since there was a lot of discarded equipment from the two railways that ran through Prince George, that there was enough to start to build this museum. Okay, the first of the two railways to reach Prince George was the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway. That reached Prince George in 1914. In 1923, it was absorbed by the Canada National Railway, which later just became CN, or as locally known as Crash National. The second railway was the Pacific Great Eastern, PGE, which ran from Vancouver up to Prince George and reached Prince George in 1952. In 1972, it was renamed British Columbia Rail, or BC Rail.
But you can see the old cars and all that. There used to be a BC Railway. There used to be a railway that used to come up here.
Yeah, I know. I took the BC Rail down to Vancouver when I was a kid.
Yeah. Stupid government sold it off to CN.
And liberals, yeah. Thank you, Gordon Campbell, yeah.
Yeah. Because the trouble is, unlike New Zealand, there's no other, if you don't have a car, the only way getting up here is by flying, which is horrendously expensive.
Yeah.
So this is at the rail yards and Railway Museum and Forestry Museum in Prince George, right next to Cottonwood Island Park. So I'll hope you enjoy the video.
Now, the first building we're going to see is the Corbell Donald Building. Corbell was a founding member of BC Telephone Pioneers in Prince George and who helped make this display a reality. As you can see, they have a really good display of all the old equipment that they used to have in the telephone system, and even to telegraph systems here. Here you can see we have a telephone rack system and even an operator's position. Oh, that would have been awesome to work on one of those. A better view of the racks.
I remember some of that. I worked with analog equipment. Yes, I'm that old. I remember the RS-232 connections. They were a pain in the butt.
Here we have the CN Police Barracks. It was originally built in 1950 and was located on First Avenue. At one time, it was a family home to Pierre Russell, a CN police officer. Later, the building was moved to Alpierre to be used as a CN section's men's quarters. The building was eventually moved, of course, to the Railway Museum, and the museum now uses it for children's functions, such as birthdays. Here we have a replica of a Tesco service station of the 1920s. The prize of this display is that awesome car. This is one rare gem. This is a 1929 Durant 4-cylinder Model 4 Roadster. And the Durant dealership in Prince George used it to deliver parts to the service stations. This was possible because the Durant's Roadster's trunk, or boot for all my Kiwi audience, can be removed, replaced with a pickup box. Thus, it made a real cool delivery truck. This is an actual fire tower. It was actually located in Holman Creek near Fort St. John. I used to work in Chatwin for Duke Energy as an IT guy at the Pine River Gas Plant, and occasionally would have to go up to Fort St. John to cover that area as well. Anyway, back to the fire tower. Sorry for digressing. This fire tower was actually decommissioned in 2010 and was one of 7 for the Prince George Forest District. Here we have a great view of the Holman Lookout. And this is the actual lookout. Just think, they went to all that effort to relocate this lookout from Holman Creek back to Prince George's Railway and Forestry Museum. Here we have a great view of how the entrance to the lookout was. And imagine spending 8 hours up there. That would be tedious. But of course, these have now been superseded with satellites.
I'm going to walk down to where there's a little train down here. So there's a little train, that's the kids. I'll see if the train is here. I'm not sure if it... Oh, yes, there is. So it shows you how tiny. The tracks are really tiny.
Later, I found out that is a 7.5-inch gauge rail.
And there's the little train for the little kiddies. Let's see if we can get size. So it comes up to my knees.
Cottonwood Mini Rail, which opened in 2003, is a 1/8 scale train and runs on a 7.5-inch gauge track. The railway has signals, a maintenance yard, and even a 1/8 scale turntable. The rolling stock for the railway consists of 4 locomotives, a caboose, passenger cars, maintenance cars, and even a flanger car to clear the snow between its tracks. Island Cache was an unincorporated community in the area that the museum is now located. This building was built in 1957 and served as both schoolhouse and community center for the community. Inside, you'll see a great display of model logging equipment and even some Pullman seats, which you'll see shortly.
This was the schoolhouse.
Yeah, this was, I'm not sure which school.
So this is the schoolhouse, and here we have a display of logging equipment, and you realize Prince George is a logging town.
Well, they have the old seats from the cars. They've got stuff from BC Rail. Oh, there's an old caboose, British Columbia Railway. They sold that off years ago to C&N, and then there was a passenger service that used to go from Vancouver to Prince George, but that's when they sold that off, they lost that.
I promised I would show you the Russo snowplow, and here it is, a wooden Russo snowplow. This is the exhibit that was started by 6 members of the Prince George community, which restored this wooden snowplow, and thus the Central BC's Railway Preservation Society was officially formed on March the 22nd, 1983. Here's a brief history of PGE 6001 Russo snowplow. This wooden snowplow was built between 1901 and 1905 by the Russo Snowplow Company and is powered by compressed air. The snowplow's wings come out from the sides to plow the snow, and the blade in the front scrapes the ice off the tracks. The snowplow was purchased by Pacific Grand Eastern in 1914 and was used to clear snow. In 1967, Northwood Pulp and Paper Company bought the snowplow to clear snow from their yards in Prince George. And in 1983, Northwood donated it to the museum as their first acquisition. I was really lucky. I actually got to go inside the snowplow. I was informed by the staff that they actually was open this time, so score one for Dave! As you can see, they still had some Christmas decorations up. And it'd been really nice if they had the snowplow controls open, but unfortunately that was still blocked out. But it was pretty cool just to be inside. In this section we are looking at speeders. As you can see, we can see the blue speeder there. And they were used for track inspection and transport for the railway workers. Here we have a good look inside a BC rail speeder. Speeders have been replaced by modified pickup trucks that can run off on rail and road. Here we can see the turntable that was built for the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway for its Prince George roundhouse. This turntable was built in 1913. The turntable weighs 102 tons and has a load capacity of 394 tons. Turntables and roundhouses were a must during the age of steam locomotives, since steam locomotives are not designed to go in reverse. Thus, the solution was to use a roundhouse and turntable as shown here. I like this shot as it's a good view of the turntable, and you can see there's a whole bunch of speeders and various other railway maintenance equipment on the turntable. This station is not a replica, but is the actual station. It was originally built in 1914 at Lindo, which never prospered as a town site, and basically had very little use. In 1947, Canadian National Railway then moved the station by flat car to Penny, BC. In 1986, it was then moved by road to the Railway Museum in Prince George, which is 140 kilometers away from Penny. But more on this later.
So we're going to go inside Penny Station.
Penny Station is an E-type station, and this is one of the few that are still left, and is the second largest structure in the museum just after the visitor center. This is the lobby of the Penny Station waiting room. It served as a waiting area for the train, as well as a community center for the Penny area, and maybe even as a post office. I know the post was delivered by train to Penny. And you must remember, Penny was very small. In 1947, the population was only 200, and it peaked in 1958 to 675, which included the town and logging camps. As Penny was a resource town, the last sawmills closed in 1965, and Penny has been declining ever since. I think the current population is now 8. It's virtually a ghost town. Here we're going to enter the station master's office. As you can see, there is some pretty cool equipment here. I say this is mostly 50s era. I don't know, but all governments all over the world use this insipid green color. I know. I used to work for the MOD in New Zealand, and every room inside the buildings always use this insipid green colors. God, government really hates their employees. So here we're going to enter the main living room for the station master. And there's some basic displays, but no period furniture here. So probably a good time to bring up the move to Prince George. The plans for the move actually started in 1986 because there's quite a bit of logistics involved. And it was determined, as there was no bridge to Penny over the Fraser, they had to build an ice bridge. The station would be transported by truck across the river up a steep grade to the Yellowhead Highway. In the winter of 87/88, it was cold enough that they could build an ice bridge thick enough to carry the 50-ton station across the river, which required 4 sets of 8 tires at each end of the building. Of course, the 3 chimneys and the built-on kitchen, shown here, were removed and brought in separately. It took 4 days to move the station, the 140 kilometers to Prince George, and arrived at the museum on February the 13th, 1988. After the station was moved to Penny, it was decided that the station master, along with his family, would live there permanently. So this add-on kitchen was built. So you can see there's a wooden stove and the stairs, and unfortunately you can't go up to the stairs. And I believe upstairs are bedrooms and the actual single station. So here we are into the parlor. Missed the piano. And we're back in the station master's office. And now we're going back to the lobby or waiting room. And this is a great view of the add-on kitchen to Penny Station. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And please subscribe. In the next video, we'll be back in the Railway and Forestry Museum and concentrating on the railway exhibits of this awesome museum. Bye!